What really moves stocks? And I'm not talking about over the long term, right? All stock, stocks go up, right? We definitely know that. But what really gets stocks moving? And it's like the thick of summer right now. We're seeing stocks that go up, they go down. Sometimes they start the day up big, they end down, they start the day down big, they go up. What is that all about? We're going to cover that today. Hey, I'm Luke Downey. Here is another edition of Lessons with Luke. I've got a bunch of lessons. I've been investing for about 20 years. I stinking love stocks, and I just want to make you a better investor. So if you like this type of content, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So it's the thickest summer, right? Stocks are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place, right? You look at your portfolio, right? I pull up my phone, and at some points, my portfolio's down. At some points, my portfolio's up. What is up with that? Is it the news? Right? Is it, there was a bombing in Afghanistan. I saw that was on the news. We've had all these earnings come in, stocks are at all-time highs. You're seeing a lot of stuff just bounce around. You're hearing about the Fed, you're hearing about taper, you're hearing about interest rates. What really determines how stocks move on a day-to-day basis? That's what I really want to focus today, because it's very easy to sit here and come up with all these reasons of why stocks do what they do. I remember, before I got on Wall Street, I used to think that there was some magic that would happen, like it was Santa's workshop, that stocks would start to move because of this news or this whisper, or maybe it was that headline. But then as I sat on the trading desk and you handle these big orders for dozens and dozens of these institutional managers, I got a picture of what actually moves stocks. And so this is what is super cool, because after I was trading for, on behalf of my clients for a number of years, I began to believe that order flow, like the size of the order, is what determined the price of the stock. And so as an example, right, so I would trade with a lot of these ETF managers, right? So they were model portfolios. They would trade in and out of ETFs, right? Big blocks, but also some of them would trade stocks, right? And so they would need somebody to actually trade their stocks over the day. And I remember explicitly having an order. It was like a smaller cap, mid cap name. It was so big, right, that we had to split that order up over a number of days. Okay. Because if we were going to try to buy all of this stock in a given day, we were going to like lift this thing way up because supply and demand, right? And you get to see that whenever you have these large orders, when you're working hundreds of thousands of shares or even millions of shares, you will have an impact on a thinly traded stock. Okay. And I remember having this order, and then I was saying, you know what? I know the stock is going up because I'm lifting it. I'm the one who's buying it. So I figured, you know what, let me go and ask some people that work for me. So we had these floor traders, right? These are people that work on the exchanges, right? The floors. They would work for some of us. We'd be like upstairs brokers effectively. And I remember asking them, I called up my guy. I was like, hey, because you have a guy, right? Call up your guy and you say, hey, can you tell me why XYZ stock is up? I can't find a reason. I couldn't find a reason. And I remember asking him, I remember going over the hoot. So there was this hoot system. It's a hoot system with all the offices all over the US, right? Because there were a bunch of sales traders. I think there was a couple hundred of us. And I remember asking you push the button, hey, guys, are you hearing anything in XYZ stock? Like, why is it up? It's up 2% today. I'm looking for a story. Does anyone know? You give it a little bit of time, stuff would come in. I'm hearing that there was an upgrade at such and such bank. All right. Then you'd have another one. Hey, there was I think they would say something like a bullish golden cross. They said that was technical. When a stock does that, it's going up. Then the guy that I called on the floor, he called back and he was like, look, I'm hearing that, they did some type of presentation somewhere. It was very bullish. Analysts had to, re-up their numbers, blah, blah, blah. I think that's why it's up. So I hung up the phone. I told him, thank you. And while I was sitting there, I just remembered that I am the one who, on behalf of the client, really was determining what that stock did on a day by day basis, right? Because I was buying this order, this bunch of shares over a number of days. And still to this day, the professional traders, right? They still look for stories. So if you're ever like sitting there and you're like, man, I'm wondering why the stock is going up, why it's going down. And, we're just talking about intraday. We're not talking about, what happens over months or after earnings or anything like that. Just like the day-to-day swings. Even the professional traders like to hear a story because it makes them, ultimately sound smart. Maybe you feel better of hearing why a stock might be up, but at the real nuts and bolts of why a stock does what it does, especially on a day-to-day basis, is based on order flow. Okay. So if there's more shares that need to be bought, somebody needs to buy it. They got to do it in a rush. They're going to outsize the market. The stock most likely is going to go up unless miraculously there was a seller that came in and they were bigger than the buyer. Same thing happens if someone needs to sell an order, right? And there can be all kinds of reasons to sell a stock. Doesn't mean you're bearish on a stock just because you sell a stock. Institutional money managers, they are selling, buying for all kinds of reasons. Maybe it's a derivative trade. I used to trade with a bunch of guys that trade options, right? So they'd set their stock trades all over the place, based on what they did in the options or based on this, based on that, and if a stock triggered something at a certain level, they'd start selling shares. If the stock went down a certain amount, they start buying shares. They were hedging all day long. And so that's really when, I don't know how many years it took for me to actually be in that type of environment when I realized that, wow, there is something that happens here. And it's whoever's got the biggest order at the end of the day is what's determining what's happening with these stocks every single day. And so it's super easy in the summer to, wonder, am I missing something? Is there a news headline that I need to chase, that I need to understand? And ultimately, you're going to drive yourself crazy because most likely there is an institution on the other side of that order. Okay. And I know that, there's a lot of retail stuff that'll happen. People might crowd into a trade or people get excited, but overwhelmingly when it's kind of quiet and it's crickets, stocks just do what they're going to do. Somebody's trading it at the other side. And that's why I try to break away from the day-to-day minutia, right? The job of an investor is to find great stocks over the long run. It's not, what's going up, what's going down, trying to figure out why and each wrinkle and all that type of stuff. I think investing, I think of like Warren Buffett, I think of the Peter Lynch's, let's try and find a stock at 10 and ride that thing to 100, right? I mean, that's like the dream, So I guess the message today is stocks move basically because of supply and demand. And it sounds simple, but until you've actually seen it, until you've actually seen a stock move based on orders, it might be kind of hard. It might be a little fugazi to kind of like think about it. But that is what happens. There is some anecdotal evidence. I remember it multiple times, just having an impact on the stock because of the size of the orders. So that's the message of today. I'm keeping it quiet. I'm like in a big conference room. I'm not in a normal place where I do my lessons with Luke, but I just thought that was interesting because I get friends every now and then. They'll hit me up. They're like, Luke, what's going on? You think the market's going up, going down, going around? And even in some of these are ex-professional traders. Some of them are professional traders. They just want to hear a story. That's what we are. We're humans. But at the end of the day, the big money really determines what a stock's going to do on a day-to-day basis. What it does over the longer term also has some big money, but also has some fundamentals. But day to day, don't worry yourself with what a stock is doing because there could be a billion reasons of why that fund manager bought stock, that one sold stock, that one hedged stock, that one did that. Doesn't mean they were bullish, doesn't mean they were bearish. Just means they had an order to do something for some reason. And it could be, it would happen all the time. We would trade an option. We had a big stock order against it. People thought we were being bullish, being bearish. You don't even know what that manager was doing. All we knew was we had to buy some stock And on these thinly traded weeks and days, like in the summer, I mean, stocks are just moving up and down like crazy. Don't be worrying about it. Don't be putting too much weight into it. That's just what stocks do. And always remember, at the end of the day, the reason the daily swings are determined by what the big money is doing. That is your lesson. Stay bullish. Think long term. If you're young, think extra long term. Okay. The odds are in your favor. Look for great companies, look for great stocks. This is Luke Downey, and I'm out.